Now first of all we have to define what is clarification, what is deification. Basically, clarification is a process in which we have to remove all the impurities that are non-sugar and that may be present in any kind. It is present in dissolved form, it is present in suspended form, either it is present in colloidal form. We have to remove it. This process is known as clarification and deification. As we know, when we extract the cane juice or the beet juice, they are having a lot of impurities, and due to these impurities there is the impartation of color that is due to the many organic compound that is associated with the cane juice. So we have to remove it by using different chemical methods. In this slide you can see a picture in which we are having three different kinds of cane juice. In the first one class you can see that there is a freshly prepared cane juice that is turbid liquid having the brown muddy appearance. This is due that it contains a lot of impurities that may be in dissolved, suspended and colloidal form. But when you adding some lime, then what happen, most of the impurities could be removed down and they are settled down at the bottom, so there is a little turbulence. When you in the third test tube we are adding some more chemical, and due to these chemicals what happen, all of the impurities is removed. The solution will be free from any kind of impurities and it will be cleared. So this is the aim, this is the objective of clarification, to remove the impurities and it will give us a clear solution. There are different methods for clarification, and they are divided on the base of the use of chemical. These are liming, the use of calcium hydroxide, other is the sulfitation, use of sulfur and its derivative, then carbonation, use of the carbon dioxide, then phosphatation, there is the use of phosphoric acid and its derivative, and the last one is the double carbonation and a double sulfitation. As its name indicates, double, so there is a multiple stages or the double stages in which we are using both carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide and their derivatives for the clarification process. What are the aims of clarification? Why we do clarification? So the answer is that we have to remove the maximum impurities or the maximum non-sugar particle from the cane juice. Second one is the elimination of the suspended and the colloidal impurities that is present in the cane juice, and then removal of the color forming compound. As we know that the color present in our cane juice is due to the some organic compound that possess having specific functional group, and these functional group responsible for imparting the color, so we have to remove these organic compounds from cane juice. And last one is the to obtain the brilliant light color transparent clear juice free from any the suspended impurities. So these are the objectives that we are finding during clarification process, and the clarification is adopted to fulfill these objectives. What are the essential requirements of the clarification? So for the good clarification, following are the essential requirements. Like first one is the sucrose should remain intact during clarification. What does it mean? It says that when you performing the clarification by addition of some chemicals, these chemicals should not disturb or damage our sucrose unit, because sucrose is our main content, main sugar, main white sugar. So during clarification process it should be not damaged, it should be remain intact. Second one is there should be adequate rise in impurity from mixed juice to clarified juice. Obviously, this is the fact that before clarification and after clarification, there is a lot of purity difference in the juices. When you have done the clarification, then we can see that the juice after clarification has high purity of sucrose rather than the fresh one or the before clarification. Third one is the reducing sugar should never form a fresh or not destroy clarification. Here the question arises, what are the reducing sugar? So reducing sugars are those sugars that act as a reducing agent and having a very reactive group that can form the bond with any other molecule. As sucrose is a non-reducing sugar, but when the sucrose is decomposed, it forms glucose and fructose. Both are the example of reducing sugar because both are having some active acetyl hemiacetyl group. So this is our consciousness, this is our aim, that we don't want to produce any kind of reducing sugar during clarification process. Fourth one is the increase in the inorganic salt like silica, iron sulfide should be avoided because any kind of chemical is hazardous to the human. So if we use any kind of inorganic salt, so their quantity is very much low. Next one is the calcium content in the clarified juice should be as low as possible. And last one is that we should not be development of any color in the clarified juice. So after clarification, if there is a still impartation of any color in the cane juice, then this is not a good sign and this is not a good clarification. These are all the requirements, these are all the basic things that we have to maintain during a clarification process. If you don't able to do this, then clarification is not done a good way. Now, why there is a need to remove the impurities? Why we need clarification? So the answer is that we have to remove the impurities because for the better crystallization of sugar. As we know, the end product of sugar is in crystal form. So if there is still impurities present in the cane juice, what happens? There is no crystallization occur. Rather, our product is in amorphous form, it is in powder form. So we have to remove the impurities. Next one is the production of white sugar free from impurities. As our end product is white sugar, any color in the sugar is due to impurity. So if you want the white sugar, then you have to remove all kind of impurities present in the cane juice. Last one is the reduce the loss of sugar in final molasses. What is molasses? Then after crystallization, the thick syrup, the thick blackish syrup that separate out after crystallization is known as molasses. So if there are still impurities, you don't want to remove the impurities, then what happens? Most of the part of the sugar goes to the molasses rather than in crystalline form. So there is a reduction in the production of sugar. So that's why you have to remove all kind of impurities associated with the cane juice. Now there is the method how we done the clarification, defecation. So there are different methods are available, that is divided on the base of use of chemical. The first one is the defecation, Riemel sulfitation. As its name indicates, sulfitation, so there is a use of sulfur and its derivative for the defecation or clarification process. In this process, what happens? When we having the juice, then we are just adding the lime in the cane juice, and along lime we are also add the sulfur dioxide gas, and then the sulfited juice is heated slightly above its boiling point, about 102 Celsius to 103 Celsius. After the boiling, we just passed all the clarified, all the solidified juice to the clarified tank or the flash tank for the setting. Then what happened? All kind of the mud or the impurities is settled down at the bottom, while the juice or the fresh purified liquid at the upper surface. So we have to separate it from above surface. What kind of reaction take place during this process? So here is the impurities is present in the form of calcium. So by adding the sulfur, there is the precipitation of calcium sulfide. How they will be precipitate? Look at the equation please. As we are adding the lime in the juice, so it is present in the form of calcium hydroxide, CaOH twice. When it goes to the solution, they will form calcium ion and hydroxyl ion, as you can see in the equation. At that time, when you add the lime, the pH of solution is high, about 12.6 at a room temperature, that is 30 Celsius degree. At that time, you have to pass the sulfur dioxide is from the liquid, and here is the formation of sulfuric acid. It is sulfuric acid, not the sulfuric acid, and the formula is H2SO3. We can see from the equation SO2 plus water give us the sulfuric acid. This sulfuric acid gets easily dissociated at the high initial pH, that is 12.6, into hydrogen ion and sulfide ion. We can see from the equation sulfuric acid easily dissociates into the hydrogen ion and sulfide ion. Now what happened after the dissociation of calcium hydroxide and the sulfuric acid? There is the formation of calcium ion and the sulfide ion in the solution. As the amount of calcium ion and sulfide ion increase in the solution, as a result of solubility product of calcium sulfide, there will be the formation of calcium sulfide in the solution, and they will precipitate out. This can be explained with the help of equation. We can see here calcium ion plus sulfide ion, there will be the formation of calcium sulfide in the solution, and they will be precipitate out. At the same time, the solution also contains the hydroxyl ion that will come from the dissociation of calcium hydroxide, and as well as the hydrogen ion that will come from the dissociation of sulfuric acid. Both the ion of hydrogen and hydroxyl ion are also come close to each other, and they will form the water molecule. This can be seen from the equation that 2 hydrogen plus 2 hydroxyl molecules are combined together to form 2 molecules of water. Now if we continue the sulfitation, it means that if we continue the addition of sulfur dioxide further, then what happens? There will be the more calcium sulfide will be formed, and there will be the more calcium sulfide will be precipitate out easily. And this is the result in that there is the reduction in the amount of calcium ions at this stage, because all the calcium ion combine with the sulfide ion to form the calcium sulfide in the solution. The overall reaction can be shown as that calcium hydroxide plus sulfuric acid give us the calcium sulfide and water molecule. This calcium sulfide will precipitate out, and it will settle down at the bottom of the tank, while the purified or the clarified juice is present at the upper surface, and this supernatant liquid can easily be separated out from the precipitation or the impurities that present in the form of calcium sulfide, and they present usually at the bottom of the tank. Now there is one more thing. Along the formation of calcium sulfide, there is also the formation of calcium bisulfide. How the calcium bisulfide is formed? Have a look. When you add more sulfur dioxide gas, then the pH will goes to the acidic side. As by adding the lime, the pH of solution is at very high, about 12.6. But if you continuously adding the sulfur dioxide, then what happen? The pH will be lower than the 12.6. And this is the pH, the reduce in the pH will allow the sulfuric acid to dissociate into the bisulfite ion rather than the sulfite ion. As we can see from the equation 1, sulfuric acid at slightly a low acidic pH, it will dissociate into the hydrogen ion and the bisulfite ion. At this stage, there is a time when the system will try to balance the amount of the sulfite ion in the solution, and it will balance the sulfite ion concentration by dissociation of the already precipitated out calcium sulfide present in the tank. This can be seen from the equation that the dissolved calcium sulfide will dissociate once again into the calcium ion and the sulfite ion. These sulfite ion again react with the hydrogen ion to form the bisulfite ion. This bisulfite ion react with the precipitated calcium sulfide and it will form the calcium bisulfide. All the equations are clearly seen that first of all that high sulfuric acid dissociate into the hydrogen ion and the bisulfite ion. Then dissolved calcium sulfide also dissociate into the calcium ion and the sulfite ion. These sulfite ion react with the hydrogen ion to form the bisulfite ion. Now the overall reaction can be written at the last. Calcium sulfide plus sulfuric acid at low pH to the lower than the 12.6 will form the calcium bisulfide. It will also settle down and present at the bottom of the tank, while the clarified or the purified is present at upper side, and the supernatant liquid can be easily separate out from the tank. Now second one method, it is the acidification remelt carbonation. As its name indicates, it's the carbonation, so there is a use of carbon or in the form of carbon dioxide. Carbonation process is basically designed to separate out about 40% of soluble non-sugar material. As we discussed earlier that in cane sugar juice, the impurities may be insoluble, suspended or colloidal form. So carbonation process of clarification is adopted to remove the soluble non-sugar material or the impurities from the cane juice or the wheat juice. Well, what we done in this one, we are having the raw juice and we just limed it by adding the calcium hydroxide to maintain the pH about 6 to 6.4, and then heat the juice above its boiling point about 101 to 102 Celsius, and after boiling you just again add the lime to adjust the pH about 7.6 to 7.8, and juice is allowed to settle. When you allow to settle, then there is a chemical reaction between the between chemicals. What is that? We can see here. As you add the calcium hydroxide into the water or the raw juices, here is the water content present in the juice. So what happens? The calcium hydroxide will react with the water and form the carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is bubbled in the sugar solution in the saturators. But this is done under control condition we are having the controlled temperature, we are having the controlled pH. So this carbon dioxide react with the calcium hydroxide and form calcium carbonate that act as an impurity and settle down at the bottom of the tank. In simple, we can say that by the use of carbon dioxide that is produced during a reaction is done like we can see in the equation, calcium hydroxide plus carbon dioxide, it will form the calcium carbonate and water. This whole process is known as diffusion, remelt, carbonation, or the clarification through carbonation. Next one method is the diffusion, remelt, phosphatation. As its name indicates, phosphatation, there is the use of phosphoric acid or the phosphorus derivative. In this process, what we have done, we are just adding the phosphoric acid or the acid phosphate followed by the lime or the calcium hydroxide slurry. First of all, in the raw juice material, you are adding the lime to maintain the pH about 7.2 to 7.4. Then you add the phosphoric acid or the phosphoric derivative and they will form the calcium biphosphate or the calcium triphosphate depending upon the type of chemical or the type of derivative you have added in the solution. Here we can see from the equation, in solution we are having the calcium ion and here we adding the biphosphate ion, then it form the calcium biphosphate. Similarly, if you adding the phosphate ion in the calcium solution, there is the formation of tricalcium phosphate or tricalcium phosphate. So this is the calcium biphosphate or the tricalcium phosphate that is settled down at the bottom of the tank, and we just remove the juice from the upper surface while they act as impurities and settle down at the bottom. This is the fourth method, that is the diffusion, remelt or clarification, double carbonation and a double sulfitation. As there is the double carbonation, double sulfitation, in this technique we are using both sulfitation process and carbonation process and in two stages. This method is usually adopted to refine the sugar. If you want to make sugar more and more refined, you are using this one method. In this method, what we are using lime at the first stage to maintain the pH. Then we adding the sulfur dioxide or its derivative along with the carbonation, carbon dioxide that is produced due to the reaction between calcium hydroxide and water during the process. As this is the double carbonation, double sulfitation, so it is a two-stage clarification process. First you have taken the raw juice. In first stage, the raw juice is limed with pH maintained about 6.2 to 6.4. When you add the calcium hydroxide at the first stage, it will react with the water and form the carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide react with the calcium dihydroxide and there is the formation of calcium carbonate. Along here is addition of sulfur dioxide which also react with the calcium and it will form the calcium bisulfite. And the whole process is done to heat the juices about 90 to 95 degrees. After that, first stage you have to settle down and we have to remove all the impurities that is settled down at the bottom of the tank. and again the juice is treated with a lime and maintain the pH about 7.2 to 7.4. Now the juice is heated about 102 to 103 Celsius degree, and again we are adding the addition of sulfur dioxide along with the carbon dioxide, and there is once again there is the formation of calcium carbonate and calcium sulfide at the bottom of the tank, and you have to remove the above purified juice from the tank while the impurities remain settle at the bottom. This is a stage, this is a method in which we just treat the raw juice in two stages. So this is a method from we get more refined juices as compared to the previous method. Now when you are after performing the clarification, the next step is the filtration. As we know that during clarification all of the impurities will be settled down at the bottom. So you have to remove the supernatant liquid from upper side, and there is the muddy material from clarified still present at the bottom. But in this mud from clarified still contains some type of some kind of residual juice. So we have to obtain the juice from this mud. For this purpose you have done two filtration, and how you done to the filtration, we are using the rotatory vacuum filter. This is the apparatus we can see from the picture. In this apparatus we just add the mud from clarified unit in this one, and it just rotate about half an hour, and after that what happen, most of the residual juice that is still present in the mud of clarified unit are also separated out, and then the juice will send to the next unit, that is the now the next unit is the evaporation unit. In evaporation unit we have to evaporate all the water content present in the clarified juice. Why we need evaporation? Because as the cane juice contain a lot of water contents, so we have to do the evaporation in order to eliminate all the water contents and form a thick juice, thick slurry, rather than the thin juice. Juice evaporated to obtain the super saturated solution. What does it mean? That there is the increased concentration of juice from 15% brix to 65% brix. What is brix? It is the amount of solid sugar in the liquid. So we can say that after the evaporation, the concentration of sugar in the liquid is increased from 15% to 65%. In evaporation unit, what happens? The juice is preheated about 107 Celsius to 110 degree with the help of hot steam. This steam will help to evaporate all the water and form the thick slurry that contains more solid sugar than the liquid. Nowadays there are two types of evaporators used. One is the single effect evaporator and second is the multiple effect evaporator. As their name indicates, single and multiple. First one is the single effect evaporator, means that there is only one evaporating tank and we just pass only a single time hot steam from the tank, and this steam will help to evaporate all the water contents and form the thick slurry. While in multiple effect evaporator, there is the multiple evaporator tank. From each tank we just pass the hot stream in order to eliminate the water content. In multiple effect evaporator, usually we are having 2 to 3 tanks, 2 to 3 pans, tank, whatever we say, and all these tank having the juice that come from the previous tank, and each tank will receive the steam, hot steam, and that will having have different temperature. And at the end of the tank, when we got our juice, it will contain more solid sugar than the liquid. Usually we are using the steam to evaporate the juice. We are not just direct heat the juice, because if we direct heated the juice, then there is a chances of burning our juice. So we are using the hot steam. Steam, it is a better method or evaporation of the juice, because the steam does not burn the juice, it just only heat and evaporate the juice. Usually if we take 1 liter of the steam, it will evaporate almost 4 liter of the juice. So it's a very good way for evaporation. The temperature of the steam usually varies from 85 to 90 degree in first pan, and in multiple evaporator tank it will usually to reduce from the last pan. But if we are using only a single effect evaporator, the temperature of the steam usually contain more than 90 degree, and this temperature is enough to remove all the water content at a single phase. That if we are using the multiple effect evaporator, then there is a difference in the steam temperature of the different evaporator tank. From first pan to the last tank, there is a reduction in the temperature of steam, because as the juice move from one tank to the last one tank, the water content is already removed. So there is the little temperature in the last tank as compared to the first tank. One more thing here is important, that the pressure of the tanks are also maintained at very low, because if there is an increase in temperature, also there is an increase in pressure at a time, that there is a chance of the blasting of the tanks. So in order to save, we have to decrease the pressure of the tanking while maintain the temperature of the tank. In last tank, usually we are totally, it is a vacuum, there is no pressure. But if we considering the first and the second tank, then there is a little pressure as compared to the last one tank. But in short, we can say that when you are using the evaporator tank, there is a need to maintain the pressure in the tank along with the temperature, because as you increase the temperature, there is a chances of the increase in the pressure, and there is the more chance for blasting of the tank. So there is a need to maintain the pressure at low level, while the temperature of the steam also maintained as we need. This is a diagram of the multi-effect evaporator. Here in this diagram, we can see we are having three different kinds of tanks. Here one by one our can juices move from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3. While in the first tank, the temperature of the steam is very high, about 85 Celsius degree. This heat is enough to remove the major portion of the water present in the cane juice. It what happens when you evaporate the juice, then most of the vapors will flow out and the juice is transferred into further tank. These are the vapors then again reused as a steaming, and juice is further transferred into the next one evaporator tank. Again here we just put the heat, but little bit low temperature, because already most of the water content already removed. Again here the evaporation process take place in the second effect. and here we just remove the our all the vapors and they will flow out, while the juice again transfer to the third one tank. In third one tank we just again pass the steam, but having now a more little temperature, about 4000 Celsius, because now in this stage, at a stage, this is when there is minimum content of water present in the cane juice, because already in previous stages, in previous effect, there is a loss of maximum water, so there is a need a little heat, little steam to remove the remaining water to evaporate the water. So after that, when we vaporize the juice and we contain the juice, then it will in a concentrated form, it will having the more solid portion than the liquid, because all the liquid in the form of vapors are gone out and we just got the thick solid portion. We called it bricks, and the percentage of the bricks increased from 15% to 65%, and this is further processed. After the evaporation unit, all the cane juice that now in present in concentrated form is transferred to the crystallization unit. Crystallization unit is usually carried out in a single effect, having high vacuum boiling pans, and at this stage what happens, the bricks that contain about 65 to 75% sugar content, solid content, while remaining are the liquid, are boiled at 60 Celsius degree. At when they are boiled, it is again form the liquid or the viscous liquid. This viscous liquid is slowly cooled down in order to form the crystal of the sugar. When the crystallization occurs, there are usually three stages take place. One is the nucleation, second is the initiation, and third one is the elongation. Nucleation is the first step in the formation of a crystal. It is defined as that how long an observer has to wait before the new phase of organized structure appears. In a simple way, we can say that nucleation is the first stage we have to observe either the crystal is formed or not. So when we can see that here there is a formation of a crystal, this stage is known as nucleation. Second step is the initiation. Initiation, as its word indicates, initiate. So when we know that there is the formation of nucleation, there is a formation of crystal. Now initiation means it's time to begin, it's time to start of the crystal. So in initiation process, we can see there is the reborn of new crystal. In initiation process, there is the reborn. In a nucleation process, we can see there is a formation of single crystal, but if we goes to the second stage, it is the initiation. It means there is the formation of new crystals. And the last one is the elongation. In elongation, there is the formation of more and more crystal. As its name indicates, elong means to enhance something, to increase something. So it is the maximum point where the crystal has been grown. After that, there now when the crystal has been formed, then we are having a crystal as well as the mother liquid called molasses, and the composition of both crystal and mother liquid is known as mesquite. What is mesquite? It is a mixture in which we are having the crystal of the sugar as well as the mother liquid. So we have to separate the mother liquor molasses from the crystal, and then crystals are allowed to at a low temperature in order to remain their identity, while the molasses are further processed for further uses. Centrifugation. Why you are performing the centrifugation? Because centrifugation is usually adapted for the molasses. What are molasses? It is the dark, thick syrup that obtained after the crystallization process, and it is having still some kind of sugar. So these molasses are centrifuged at 100 to 1800 rpm revolves per minute, and after the rotation the molasses were passed through the perforation. It means there is a transfer to filtrate, and what happened, most of the sugars are still separate out than the molasses. These sugar crystals are then washed with the warm water at that temperature about 85 degrees, and then we are just use that one sugar into the raw sugar. This is the diagram of the centrifugal machine. In this machine we just put the molasses and just rotate it about 1 hour. After rotation you have to separate more sugar from molasses. This one is the last step, that is drying and packaging. When you when you crystal out the sugar, the next one step is the drying and packaging. When crystal are formed, first of all we have to draw the crystal, because if there is any kind of moisture it will not a good sign, because there is a chances to form the yeast in the sugar. So there is a drying unit. There is a large cylindrical drying where the hot steam will blow and draw all the crystal of sugar, and then we just pack the sugar into the packing bags. As you can see in the picture, there is a lever that will pack the sugar in sugar bags. These are all the reference from where the data has been taken, and this is for you for your more elaboration of your study. So you have to read also these articles as well as books. Now it's time for quiz. It's a critical thinking. There are some questions that is related with the today's lecture, and this is for your test. You have to answer all the questions. In this way you can test yourself, and also you know about the difficulties related to the today's lecture, and if there is any difficulty we will discuss in the next lecture. So all of you have to answer all of these questions, and you have to read it. Okay, thank you.